I'm Geoff Baker of the Seattle Times. Welcome to Around the Blogosphere, our daily rapid-fire look at all the goings-ons and happenings around computer land in regards to the Seattle Mariners. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion in the blogosphere this morning in regards to Ken Griffey Jr. and his return to the Seattle Mariners as a special consultant. Jr. will be showing up at spring training sometime in March and is expected to make all kinds of appearances in Seattle and around the Mariners minor league affiliates during the regular season. Over at USS Mariner, author Dave Cameron greeted the news with a little bit of, I would say, resignation, with a little bit of, he admitted that he's kind of indifferent to the whole thing. He admitted that, it's probably going to be a good thing. The Mariners will probably get some value PR-wise out of this for not a lot of money. But he admits that after all the news and happenings with Ken Griffey Jr. over the past 2 years, he's a little bit burned out. He says he basically shrugged and moved on to the next thing. Over at Lookout Landing, author Jeff Sullivan takes a little more upbeat, optimistic look at things. He says that, yeah, Ken Griffey Jr., like Cameron, he agrees that Ken Griffey Jr. brings some PR value to the Mariners, and he also says that what Ken Griffey Jr. is going to say to minor league players will carry a lot of weight. What Sullivan argues that, yeah, every coach that's out there in Major League Baseball knows the game of baseball, knows it inside out, but there's a difference, he says, when the information comes from a player like Ken Griffey Jr. So the players that are listening to Ken Griffey Jr. will be more inclined to listen to him and more inclined to soak up some of the information. That was his conclusion, anyway. Moving right along, over at Soto Mojo, author Harrison Crow takes, I think, a valiant attempt to try to project what the innings pitched, earned run average, and the WAR, the wins above replacement level, is going to be for Erik Bedard this season. In the end, Crow ends up concluding that if Bedard throws only 50 innings at 80% capacity, he's still going to give the Mariners more value than a pitcher like David Pauley would, throwing the same 50 innings at 100% capacity. And that's an interesting projection. The one thing I would have to add to all that, though, is that if Erik Bedard throws only 50 innings for the Mariners this year, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble because they need other pitchers then to soak up the innings for the rotation. You can't have Felix Hernandez going out there throwing 300 innings in a season, and I don't know if you can count on Jason Vargas to necessarily deliver 200 innings after the season that he had last year. We're going to see how his arm holds up under the strain of pitching so many innings in consecutive seasons. So that's my take on that one. And finally, wrapping up this morning, we got Pro Ball Northwest. Taylor Halprin, author Taylor Halprin, is taking a look at running down the players that are on the 40-man roster, and Franklin Gutierrez is the player he's looking at today. He looks at how Gutierrez's season fell apart in the second half last year, and he attributes it to three things. One, to bad luck. Two, to a decline in his home run to fly ball ratio, and well, that wasn't two. That was the bad luck he was talking about. The second thing, he says, he had unsustainable defensive success, meaning he was so good in 2009, he was bound to come down a little bit in 2010. And he also says that the ineptitude of the Mariners might have dragged Gutierrez down as well, meaning when the whole team was falling apart in the second half, some players might have been a little bit inclined to give up, and he thinks that might have had something to do with Franklin Gutierrez. The one thing I would add is that he's leaving out a very important factor, and that is Gutierrez's health. Gutierrez was not healthy in the second half of last year. He had a stomach virus, some kind of stomach ailment. Nobody's exactly sure what it was, but it did plague him for the final 6-7 weeks of the season, and I think that had a lot to do with it. But check out those blogs. You'll get some interesting takes on the Seattle Mariners, and keep checking out this blog for the rest of today to find out all your Mariners news and happenings. I'm Geoff Baker. See you out at the ballpark.